Hello and welcome to the Stolen Minutes channel. My name is Carrie and this is a channel where I share what I've been knitting on since the last time that we talked, which has been almost a month at this point. I have quite a bit to share today. I will be talking about what I have been knitting on. I have a few things that I finished, as well as what I've been reading, a couple of shows that we've watched, and I will also share a favorite knit that I have made in the past. You can find me on Instagram and Ravelry and Facebook and Etsy as Stolen Minutes. I have an Etsy shop where I make project bags for knitters and crocheters. I will also share what I will be putting into the shop next week. If you're interested in more information about my shop newsletter link will be down below where you can get shop updates and anything else that might be going on related to my shop. Let's start first with what I'm wearing. This is my Felix sweater by Amy Christophers, and I knit this back in December of 2021. I had to look up when I made it because I could not remember exactly. I knit this sweater in 20 days. I could not believe that. I remember it being a quick knit, but I do not remember it being that quick. So, I knit it out of Brooklyn tweed in the Long Johns color, and I love this sweater so much. It is so warm. Brooklyn tweed shelter is a woolen spun yarn, so it's very airy and lightweight, but even when it's cool out, you can just feel that cold air not getting through. It just is so insulating. So I really love this sweater. It is a pattern that I would completely knit again. It's got this sweet eyelet detail on the raglan increases. It's on the front and the back, and yeah, it's very cozy, and it's just otherwise it's just a basic raglan sweater. So that is what I'm wearing today. Let's start with what I have been working on. So first, I'll talk about these socks. They are almost done, and I am so pleased about that. Did you hear my washer singing to me that it's done? So anyways, these are just a plain vanilla sock. It is a helical knit sock. I actually am using up the leftovers from my Cozy Knitter Advent for these. I had seen the Colorado Knitter talk about these on her podcast, and I just thought it was such a cool idea. So I did the same thing. Oops. And yeah, I love how different it really makes that yarn. So I started at opposite ends of the skeins. So I held one strand and knit from the outside of the ball, and I held another strand and knit from the inside, and you helical knit those, one changing every round with alternating between the two colors. So that is my first thing that I have finished. I am on the toe decreases, so I anticipate these will be finished rather quickly. They've knit up pretty fast, and yeah, I'm excited to be moving away from these though, just because who doesn't love to cast on something new? I don't know what will be put onto the needles when I'm done with those. We'll have to see. I like to save that sometimes for when I'm done, and then I can go and really enjoy that process of picking out that next yarn and rifling through my yarn cabinet that is just feels like my own little curated shop for me. So that is the first thing that I've been working on. The next thing that has gotten a lot of my attention in the past month or so is a pair of socks. Again, these are just a vanilla sock, and these are out of breaking yarn, and the colorway name is Saul Goodman. So I finished this one, but I had not even woven in the ends yet. So it is a fun sort of micro striping kind of yarn. It's got black and then the white has different colored speckles in it. So these have been really fun. I finished the first sock and yesterday I got through the cuff and I am onto the leg. So just smooth sailing on these. So this is my vanilla sock. I've been pretty monogamous with my sock knitting for the past good bit of time. I've had upwards of 7 or 8 pairs on the needles at a time in the past, and I just kind of got to the point where I felt like that was overwhelming and it was hard for me to keep them fresh. So I've gotten to where I just kind of have like 1 or 2 pairs on the needles, and I am very much enjoying that. So that has been my routine. The next thing, we have our projects, we always have fuzz, right? So the next thing that I've been working on, I love this fabric, by the way, if you can't tell. This is my favorite fabric to date. So these bags are in constant rotation for me. So the next thing I have is a project that honestly I hemmed and hawed for a couple of years over what to make with this yarn. So I bought the McMullen Fiber Advent in 2021. So much fun to open up every day. I loved the inspiration. It was the classic, the different colored classic books. I think it was Penguin. I don't know. I could be totally wrong. But I just thought her palette is always beautiful. And so I really, really loved opening all those up. And then because I just couldn't ever make a decision on what to make, it just kept sitting. But it was always on my mind, like, what am I going to make? I debated on a stripy sweater. I debated on a shawl, specifically Stephen West Dotted Rays shawl. I shared that a couple of episodes ago because that is my favorite sweater of all time to wear. But I don't know, something just never made me grab the needles and pattern and cast that on. And I'm actually really glad that I didn't, because the perfect pattern for this yarn, or at least the perfect pattern for right now for this yarn, came out this past November, December, and it was from Helen Stewart, and it is her trifle wrap. And she designed it for 24 20-gram minis, so specifically for an Advent. It was the thinking, but it could be for any kind of amount of leftovers. It'd be beautiful in one solid color if you wanted to do that, or if you just have scraps, it would even work for that. So you could make it even color changes, or you could mix it up. So without further ado, I have jabbered on enough about that. Here it is. It is a chevron pattern, and it is lovely. So I am using my 20-gram minis from the Advent, like I said, but some people held mohair with it. The pattern is written to be held with mohair. And so when I laid my minis out, I realized that I grouped them by colors. So whatever color felt dominant to me. And it all was working out that there was 4 to 5, I think the most, there might've been like 6 colors that were all in the same family. So I had a red family. This one had 4. And then the next family is more like golds and a little bit of grays in there. And then there was a purpley pink section. There is a blue / teal section. And then there is a blush pink section of colors. And again, there's like 4 to 5 minis in each one. And so I was really having a hard time figuring out what mohair I wanted to pair for the whole thing that I felt like would go with all of them, because I didn't want any real high contrast areas with the mohair, with that silk core really being prominent against each color. Like I didn't want to do red for the whole thing because I didn't want, mohair can really color the whole tone of a project. So I didn't want my choice of mohair to overpower the tone of each section. So I didn't want the red to be muted by using a pink. I didn't want the golds to be muted by using a red. So what I chose to do instead was I'm changing the mohair with each section that I knit. So I'm grouping them by color, and I'm matching the mohair to what that color speaks the most of. I chose to do that instead of doing it in color order, just because that was just kind of what made sense to me. And at that point, I knew I still had them actually in the order in the box that I opened them, but I thought, let's just see what those colors look like together. So I thought it was just a really fun chance to highlight each section. So here is the red, and here is the start of the gold section. So I'm on my second color in the gold, and they kind of just get a little bit lighter from here. So I have a purpley pink color that I got a really fun, bright purple pink mohair to go with. I chose a dark, almost like tealy green for the bluish teal section. I have a blush pink color, and that might be it. I think there's 5 sections. And so each color repeat is 11 rows. You work back and forth, and there's an eyelet row in the middle. Yeah, you can see that. So there's an eyelet row in the middle of each of those color changes. And so this has been really fun. I actually timed myself doing a row because I just was curious how much time this is going to be. So each row, whether it was a right side or a wrong side row, because it is garter, so it is primarily all knits with some increases and decreases to achieve that chevron shape. So each one took me a little less than 8 minutes. I timed it fairly early on, and I was closer to 8 minutes. Hi, Shadow. You can come up. Come back here. He's unsettled because he was up here first. And then Chet came up and wanted to snuggle because they were in the sun. And I closed the curtains so that it's not blinding me. And now he got down to go eat a little bit. And now he doesn't know what to do with himself. Shadow, come here. Come on. Get up here. Yeah, come on. Come on. He has to like paw at the couch first. Come on. Get up here. Come on. There you go. All right. All right. I have a fleece blanket on the couch behind me, so he should be very happy. Yeah. I know. Yeah. We can share the couch. You're not even on the couch. Bossy, bossy, bossy. Okay. Okay. Lay down. I know. What? Do you need on my lap? Is that the problem? Come on. Okay. Come on. We're talking knitting. You like this. You coming? Let's do it if you're doing it. Okay. Okay. Sorry about that. So it took me about 8 minutes to do one row when I first started, and I timed myself just like a row or two ago, and I'd shaved like 15 seconds off of each row. So it's like 7 minutes, 45 seconds, whatever. So then, okay, so there is, because I don't know, I just enjoyed figuring this out. So each color change will take me almost 3 hours. when you factor in how many rows at 8 minutes a row. So yeah, it's a good chunk of time. So it's kind of worked out for me that I've knit sort of at least one color per weekend when I've worked on it. So I started this back at the beginning of February, and I am 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I've done 6 colors. So I certainly haven't knit one color per weekend since the beginning of February when I started it. But I kind of know about how long it'll take me, and I like the idea of doing a color per weekend. But that doesn't always happen. And mohair. Mohair or cat, one of the two. So Trifle Wrap by Helen Stewart. Highly recommend if you have an advent calendar sitting in your yarn cabinet that you just cannot think of the perfect project for. Now, it is intended to be a wrap. This is going to be a big wrap. It's definitely going to grow probably in width, if not length, when I block it. I'm just gonna let it be what it's gonna be. Some people made it smaller, but I'm okay if it's, I don't know. To me, it's just probably gonna be just beautiful to look at. So I'm okay with that. And I'm really enjoying the knit, and I'm just so happy that I found a pattern to showcase this beautiful yarn. So McMullen Fiber Company, she's local to me. She's down in Cincinnati. I've met her at a couple of yarn festivals, and she is just absolutely lovely, and her yarn is gorgeous. So I recommend. And then with the leftovers, so it's a 20 gram mini, and each repeat has left me with about 5 grams. I think I had one section that I ran out of for some reason, but it's probably user error. Maybe I did an extra like 2 rows or something. That's the only thing I can think. But I've been taking the leftovers, and I put them on my scale, and I divide up the leftovers, and I've been putting them into a sock, a scrappy, oh, Chet, it likes your face. I've been putting it into a scrappy pair of socks. So I'm going to be curious. I probably will get 2 pairs of socks out of these, I'm guessing, because I'm already halfway down the leg, and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-ish colors in there. So I'm just going to see where it takes me, but it's such squishy yarn. I love it. So that is what is on my needles. Oh shoot. Well, the 2 things that I have finished, one I don't have, and the other is downstairs soaking because I'm doing a load of knits. So I can't go get that. And I mean, it's wet, but I have a cat on my lap too. So I will just tell you about it. So the 2 things that I have finished, the first one is pocket vest for children, a great pattern for a little one in your life. It didn't take me too long to knit either one, and it was a construction that I had never made before. I had never made a vest, so it was really fun to do that construction, and it goes kind of fast because you're not doing those sleeves. So it's a great way to try out maybe a new technique. I would love to look for an adult vest that has a button in the middle. I believe the same designer has an adult version as well. So highly recommend. And the pattern was clearly written. It's not a free pattern, but it is well worth the money. So the other pattern the other project that I recently finished is my morning walk hat. And this is a DK weight 1x1 rib hat pattern. I started this back in December of 2021, and I got pretty far. I got like halfway through. You start at the brim and you're doing 1x1 until you get to the crown decreases. So the thing that I like about this pattern is the crown is round. It doesn't have like a point. It doesn't have, it's not flat. I don't mind those, but this one is a rounded top. And I believe it has you knit a little bit of the brim on smaller needles and then change to larger needles. I made the adult medium, and in hindsight, I have enough yarn left over. I really kind of wish that I had made the adult large, but I'm expecting when I block it that it's going to grow. I used Devonia yarn, which, to be honest, is a yarn that I have not seen at other yarn shops. It was a yarn that was at the yarn shop that I worked at, and it was this beautiful acidy green color, and I love that color, especially in an accessory kind of way. So yeah, I wish I had made the adult large, but I think it's going to be just fine either way. But it is a 1x1 rib hat, so I feel like it's a bit of an investment of your time, because 1x1 rib is not a quick knit. But I did find that the more I knitted, especially now, I was able to settle into that slowness, and I really, really enjoyed it. I think I kept putting it off working on it because I was not loving that 1x1 rib at the time for whatever reason, but I enjoyed it, this coming back to it, because I picked it back up sometime in late January, I think, and it wasn't something I worked on all the time, but all of a sudden I was at the decreases. So I knit it to pattern for the length, and I really wanted to make sure that I'd have like a substantial brim to fold up, and the pattern is written for it to be that way. So I can't recommend it enough. It is a paid for pattern, so it has two sizes, adult medium and adult large, and it's for a DK weight. So if you're needing a nice basic simple ribbed hat, I recommend. So that is all that I have that I've been knitting and what I have finished knitting. I do have my granny stripe blanket that I've worked on just a little bit, but I'm not going to show it because it's really not enough worked on to really have any significant notice to anything. Let's see. Oh, I was going to talk about my favorite knit that I have made and that I still use and love a lot. So this is a hat, and we are hopefully, for the most part, out of hat season here in Ohio. We've had a little bit of a cold snap this week. Today is March 21st, so it's the first day of spring. And last week it was like pushing 70 for a couple of days, and it was absolutely beautiful. I was able to open up the windows a little bit in the afternoon to get some fresh air and turn off the heat. And now we're back to cold. It was 22 degrees this morning when I did the school run. So yeah, we're having a little bit of a cold snap. Tomorrow it's supposed to rain. And I think Saturday and Sunday it's supposed to be like maybe low 50s. So it's still gonna feel cool. Still need your warm clothes, but unless I'm, taking a walk, I'm kind of thinking I'm out of hat season. So the knit that I want to share that I have made several of and absolutely love is the Pull the Wool Over hat. This is a pattern that Espace Tricot put out, and it is fabulous. So I have knit a total of 6 of these. I've knit 5 that have these great big fun pom-poms. I got these pom-poms on Etsy. I don't remember the shop or anything, but let me tell you about these hats. So the pattern is a free pattern, and it calls for Aran weight yarn. So like we all do, I have lots of sock weight leftovers, and I wanted to use those up in a fun way that would just kind of eat up a good bit of those yarns. So I chose 3 fingering weight yarns plus a mohair. It calls for an Aran weight plus a mohair is what the pattern calls for. And I just chose 3 of my sock weight yarns and I paired that with a mohair and I knit away. So it's just a basic stockinette beanie with a nice wide brim. I don't wear it folded up. It makes for a nice slouchy-ish kind of hat. So this one is mine, and this one is one of my girls. Really fun. They all have different mohairs. So these both have a different mohair. I believe the mohair was Homespun House. But 2 different colors. And then I have this one for my other daughter, and it had a navy mohair, and hers had more navy in her yarn, but honestly that mohair is what really colors it. So this was where I kind of took what I learned from how the mohair behaved with these hats and applied that to my trifle wrap, which is kind of why I knew that I wanted to change the color of the mohair, because mohair just really can have a strong influence on whatever colors you're knitting. So I've knit 5 of these total. I've knit 2 more with the 3 fingering weight and mohair held together. I knit one for my mom and I knit one for my sister. And theirs are both a little bit more in the pinky purple family. And the 6th one that I've knit, I omitted the pom-pom and I just used an Aran weight yarn with no mohair for my husband. I knit him a solid orange hat for our anniversary one year because he's a Bengals fan and he needed a Bengals hat. So that was why I knit that one. But it's a great pattern. It knits up on size 8 and size 9 needles. And the size 8 you're going to use for the brim, for the ribbing, and then you switch to the size 9 for the body of the hat. And it knits up really quickly because it is an Aran weight yarn. So it's a quick knit and you don't have to put the pom-pom on it, but I just loved these. I think these were like 7 or 8 inch pom-poms. They're huge. So they really add to it. So and pom-poms are pretty easy to come by. A couple of these have even sparkle. One of the yarns had like a sparkle base in it. So that is also really fun, and it's neat to see how those colors play together. And then if you choose a mohair, it's going to, you know, really color that project. So and this is a warm hat. I wear this when it's cold and I want to be warm, and you could certainly pull it down a little bit tighter and roll up the brim just to like keep all of that warm air really close to your head. So this is a favorite knit. I see more of these in my future, even if I omitted the mohair and just made it a basic hat without a pom-pom. So that is my well-loved knit that I have made numerous and still love. What have I been reading and watching? I have read several things since we talked last. The last time we talked, I was listening to Knitted and Knifed by Tracy Drew, and it is a knitting mystery, murder mystery. So I read that. I think there's 5 in the series, and so I listened to that first one, Knitted and Knifed. I finished that and immediately started listening to Purled and Poisoned by Tracy Drew. Just as lovely as the first one. It's just a lighthearted mystery. The main character, she owns a yarn shop that had been owned by her grandparents. She owns it now, and she still cares for and lives adjacent to her grandpa. So, and she finds herself, you know, she kind of puts herself in the middle of a couple of murders that happen, and so she's doing some sleuthing herself, and it's just it's just lighthearted and fun. So a great thing to listen to while you knit or crochet. And then the next book that I finished was a hardback book. I read this book. It is The Women by Kristen Hanna. Oh my goodness. I can't recommend this book enough. So my daughter had gotten this book as a book of the month, and she's away at school. So I opened up the package and said, I'm reading this before she gets home and takes it. I sailed through that book. I started it at the end of January, I think. No, in February. Doesn't matter. So I started it and I read no less than 30 minutes every night. And I normally can read like for 15 minutes or so when I'm getting tired and I just need to turn out the light. I read for at least 30 to 45 minutes any night, every night that I read. And I read every night before bed. So it went really fast. Oh my goodness. I've read a couple of other Kristen Hanna books and really loved those as well. But this one was about women in the Vietnam War, and it's about a young woman who enlists in the Army and becomes an Army nurse. And wow, I'm embarrassed to say that honestly, I really knew nothing about the Vietnam War. I know this is a historical fiction, so everything isn't necessarily true, but Kristen Hanna does talk about the research that she did and the people she worked with to write this book. And I am sure it is more true than not, the things that she writes about. And yeah, I was shocked and heartbroken and definitely cried reading this book. But I recommend it. I normally will shy away from things that I feel like are a tearjerker. I don't love tearjerker movies. I prefer to laugh. And this book, I went into kind of knowing that, and I just felt that I needed to read this. So I highly recommend it. Very informative, very well written. Her books are just so easy to read. So I can't recommend The Women enough by Kristen Hanna. And since I finished that one, I wasn't really sure what to read, and I feel like it's just been kind of sitting with me, and I haven't been in the mood to jump in anything too much. So I took my Irma Bombeck book that I think I mentioned previously that I just had left down here by the couch to pick up and read if I had a couple of minutes. So I've taken that upstairs and I'm really enjoying reading that in a more consistent fashion. I'm reading If Life Were a Bowl of Cherries, What Am I Doing in the Pits? It's some variation of that title. So Irma Bombeck, you probably all know, she had a newspaper column and she wrote so many books, and she's humorous, but she's also just very down to earth, and it's amazing to me. These books were written, in the late 70s, some of them. This one, I just know the inscription on the inside was from like January 1978. So I was just a baby in 1978. But it is amazing how true her writing still is and how applicable it is even in 2024. So I've been enjoying that. It's a nice, lighthearted book after reading The Women. So I don't know what I'll read when I'm done with this one. I don't know. I've gotten several books and I have a stack up there. So I will probably spend some time looking through those and seeing what I want to read next. So I think that's it for books. Movies, we watched The Holdovers. That was a movie that was recently in the the Oscars, and I believe it did win something. I don't remember what. I didn't know anything about it. My husband just had seen previews and said, "Hey, you want to watch the holdovers?" I'm like, "Sure." So it's about some kids at a boarding school who there's like half a dozen of them, and they are not able to go home for Christmas break, and so they have to hold over, and their teacher Paul Giamatti stays as well, and he's a character. So it's a heartwarming story, and so that was very good. And I know that the one actress, she did win a supporting actress at the Oscars, and she was fantastic. Oh gosh, I'm blanking on her name. She played the cook in the movie. She kind of stole the show. She was fantastic. So yes, I did want to say that. The other movie that we watched recently was the new-ish Indiana Jones movie, the newest one from the summer. We finally got around to watching that. It was okay. It was Indiana Jones. It was what it was. So enjoyed that. And we're currently not watching anything super consistently. We started some conspiracy documentary on Netflix. My husband chose it. It's okay. It's great to knit by. So, yeah, we've just been too busy to have a regular sit down to watch TV. So I think that is it for knitting, crocheting, reading. I did want to share that I finished up and shipped out all of the knitting, the dinner time cats and the TV time cats project bags that were a pre-order back at the end of February. I finished all those up yesterday, got them all shipped out, so they are on their way to you. Thank you for all of your orders. Those were so fun to stitch up, and I am so pleased. I got everything sewn up and stitched out a week ahead of the deadline that I had set for myself. I had said they will all be shipped out by the end of March, and here we are, March 20th, and they are all on their way to you. So when I finished those all up, I order an extra little bit of fabric just to make sure that I have enough for what I need. So then that leaves me with some fabric for some extras. So this is just what the print is. And I will be sending out a newsletter probably next week, letting you know when they'll be in the shop. I know that wasn't focusing very well. But there will be a handful of these in the shop, and newsletter subscribers will be the first ones to know when they will be there. So I don't know if I will have them in all the sizes. I don't think so. It'll just be a handful that I have. So if you're interested, if you missed out on the first batch, or you decided, oh, I really wanted a Notions bag, check it out. And they'll be in the shop sometime next week. So I think that is all that I have. I think so. So hopefully it won't be so long the next time I come to talk to you. It will be a couple of weeks just because of some things that I have coming up, but I will be knitting and crocheting in between there. So I hope to have something to show you that has had some progress. But in the meantime, I hope that you get lots of stolen minutes in your day to get some stitches in. And I thank you for joining me. And I thank you, as always, for leaving me some comments down below. Let me know if you have any questions for me, or tell me what you're knitting or crocheting on, or just say hi. I just love hearing from you and getting to chat a little bit more. So until next time, happy knitting and crocheting. I hope you get lots of stolen minutes. Bye. Hello. Happy Saturday. Just doing a little bit of sewing. It is Saturday, Thursday, March 2nd. And if you're a newsletter subscriber, you know that today I'm having a mini shop update. Whoops. And what mini means is that there is a very, very, very limited quantity of bags coming into the shop. And that is just because I am just filling a little bit of my time this past week with some bags that I have been wanting to make and have just found every reason in the world not to make. So while I've been waiting on the cat fabric to arrive, I grabbed a couple of Charlie Harper fabrics off of the shelf. And you know, Charlie Harper can't go wrong. So I'm finishing up those. I have a shop update. I'm going to be putting these in the shop in about an hour. So I want to get these all finished up. I just have these last few. And I thought I would show you what this fabric is, because I do anticipate that these will come back into the shop. Anything Charlie Harper is fantastic to me. So there's two prints coming in. So this is one of them. This is his squid and whale fabric. And it's so cool because it is a large print and it's on bark cloth fabric. So I interfaced it, especially for the large bag, so that it will stand up. And so I have just a handful of these. I don't have very many. And so oh, this one's cool. Okay, I'm gonna have to show you this one because it's almost like the print is lining up on each side of the zipper. Do you ever have that happen when you're wrapping presents, where you fold it over with the seam of the wrapping paper and it lines up? Have you ever had that happen? I think that's so fun when that happens. All right, I'm going to show you this one here after. Hold on. It's hard for me to talk and sew at the same time. I don't know. When my mom and I sew, we don't have any trouble with that, but I guess if I'm trying to say something that is intelligent, I have trouble with that. Okay, can you see this one? You can see it really well down here. Look how it's like almost, it's just off by like an eighth or a quarter of an inch. But look at that. Look how cool. Okay, that's fun. I haven't had that happen in a super long time. That is fun. So yeah, I'm gonna sew up the last of these large bags. I'm only gonna have this squid and whale in our large size bag because it's just so perfect. I can't do it in any other size. It just would not do this fabric justice. And I love this color palette. The dark gray background is just gorgeous. Like a charcoal. And the texture of the fabric and everything. This is a good one. So yeah, I anticipate getting more of this fabric and having these in the shop again because there is just not enough this time around. So yeah, so after really once I put these in the shop, I'm going to be done working for the day. And my husband will get home and we're going to go to lunch, grab a quick bite, and I'm hoping to get some good knitting time in today. I'm working on a vest for my niece for her birthday. She's gonna be 6. So I started her a little vest, the same pattern that I had made her one last year. And so I'm hoping to get that finished. All I have left on it is like four rounds on the one armhole and then the other armhole. But each armhole is, I think, after you pick up the stitches, it's 8 rounds. So not bad, and not a ton of knitting left. So that will be easy to get done. And then I have to weave in the ends and it'll be ready for her birthday. And let's see what else. I feel like I'm really in between projects right now for some reason. The pair of helical knit socks that I'm doing with the Cozy Knitter leftovers, I'm almost to the toe on the first sock. But that doesn't feel like I mean, it is portable. I could work on that in the car, but it just wouldn't be my first one that I would grab to take, because it requires me to look at it when I change colors. So it's not as mindless as, it's really almost as mindless as knitting a lightly textured, lightly patterned sock, because I have to, every time I get to the beginning of the round or whatever, I have to figure out what I'm doing, or I have to look at it. So I don't know. I only have one vanilla sock, but I don't know. Like, I do and I don't want to cast on something new. I just don't want to add to my whip pile. I have my field sweater that I need to try it on, because I feel like it could be getting close to where I want to start the ribbing. This is fighting me. I feel like I'm getting close to where I want to start the ribbing, so I don't want to keep working on the body of that if I'm ready to start the ribbing. So maybe I'll do that later today too. Try that on and see where it's at lengthwise. So I have that. And then the other sweater that is tucked away that I need to get out and finish, because I'm going to want to wear it in the next couple of months, is my ranunculus. Do you remember my ranunculus? I stopped working on it in the fall, I think for Christmas knitting and stuff like that. And I am ready for the second sleeve, I believe. So that is exciting. So that one, it's just kind of silly to let that languish too long, because it is so close to being done, or it feels that way anyway. So that's another reason to not start a sock, because those sleeves are essentially socks. Again, they don't feel quite as mindless. I feel like I need to pay attention to my gauge on those. Or it just feels different. I don't know. So that is the state of my knitting this weekend. I'm really excited to see if you guys like these bags. The other one that I'm putting into the shop today, and I have more of that fabric on hand. I only cut what I knew I would have time to make. So let me grab one of those here in a second, and I'll show you the other Charlie Harper fabric that's coming into the shop that, again, will be returning at some point. Let me grab that one to show you. So this print I'll have in the small and the medium. This is Charlie Harper's Cardinals, and I gave a little sneak peek of this on Instagram the other day. But how classic. You've probably seen this print somewhere, but it's so good. And this is a canvas, and this is not interfaced, but our lining fabric is a little bit, has a little bit more body to it than a really silky interfacing or really silky fabric. So it easily stands up. This is a medium. It easily stands up. So these are the two prints that are coming into the shop. And I love how they kind of coordinate together with the red and black. It was really not intentional this time around. Sometimes I am intentional about that. I love to have a nice little matching coordinating set. But these were just two that I've wanted to make up, and I had the bit of time, so I decided to take it. So that, I think, is all I have right now. I'm going to get back to my audiobook. Pearled and Poisoned. I believe that is, I think it was Tracy Drew was author, but it's a knitting, it's a series of 5 books, and they are all knitting related, because the main character owns a yarn shop, and so she seems to find herself in mischief. I listened to the first book, Knitted and Knifed, and now I'm on book 2. So they're just kind of a fluffy, feel good. Well, maybe not feel good, but they have a little mystery to them. But they're just a fluffy mystery kind of book like that. But they're cute. I like them. So that is what I'm gonna go listen to. And yeah, I'll talk to you later.